Hey y'all, today I want to talk about what is known as Silent Saturday. And this day is not spoken about a lot between Good Friday and Resurrection Sunday, but there is something really significant that we are invited into as we look at this day and apply what Christ has done. You know, for us at this time that we are living, we are able to look at the days of crucifixion, the resurrection. We celebrate these days because we live after they took place. But for the disciples at that time, they did not understand or really comprehend the significance of what was happening until after the resurrection of Jesus Christ. You know, each and every one of us really can relate to these silent Saturdays, these quiet points in time where we do not yet know what is going to happen tomorrow, or even as we are seeking God, the answer that we're looking for, we have not yet received it. Each and every one of us can relate to these silent Saturdays. Today, I want to draw our attention to John, in the Gospel of John, the 11th chapter, and there's a point where we see a good and loved friend of Jesus named Lazarus. He gets sick and he ends up dying from his sickness. But I want to draw our attention to something in this chapter that's really stood out to me. And before Jesus gets to the town of where Lazarus is living, where he's sick and ends up dying at, he speaks and says to the disciples at that time that he was going to revive Lazarus's body. And so he knew the miracle of what God was going to do. And yet we see in John 11, when Jesus gets to the town and he encounters the sisters of Lazarus, both Martha and Mary, and those weeping over the death of Lazarus, we see it says two different times that he was deeply moved. Verse 33 says that when Jesus saw her, Mary, his sister, the sister of Lazarus, weeping, he was deeply moved in his spirit, and shortly after it says that he even wept. You know, we don't know exactly why Jesus wept, but I wonder if maybe one of the reasons why Jesus wept is because in that moment, he has a loved one, but he also has loved ones who are weeping and mourning over their brother, their friend who has passed away, who's in a grave. And I wonder if in that moment, Jesus allowed himself to embrace the mourning and weeping that he knew maybe just very soon was going to come for the disciples, as he would be buried in a grave. And they would be wondering and not knowing what was going to happen, even though he was in the grave. And just like at that point, there's loved ones, friends, and family of Lazarus who did not know that Jesus was going to revive him, perform a miracle, raising him from the grave. I wonder if in this moment Jesus is moved and weeps because he knows the mourning and weeping that his disciples would go through, not fully understanding what was to come. Friend, I want to encourage each and every one of us, do not mistake silence as God's absence. You know, even when we cannot understand, we can still trust God. When we know who he is, when we know he is a good, loving, kind, gracious, reviving Lord, we can trust in him even when we do not understand. And so today, on this Silent Saturday, I want to invite us into a place where we would silence our phone. We'd go to God and we would ask him to pour out his peace upon us afresh. And I want to invite you, as you silence your phone, begin to speak out, maybe even write out all the emotions of what you're feeling in maybe this phase or this season or this day of silence where there's something you do not yet know the answer to on the other side. Give it to God, write it out, speak it out, and then thank God that in the midst of the unknown, you can trust in him and ask for his peace to come upon you afresh today.